Hey, this situation is getting like, I can't believe these titles that I'm seeing. I cannot believe it, but welcome back to the poop show. I'll just say that. Trump attacks past MAGA supporters on Jeffrey Epstein pushback. Again, I don't think I've ever seen both sides united so much on a topic. Both sides wanting it to come out, and I think because so they can be like, look, we on here, y'all on here. Where we go next? But they say he keeps shooting himself in the foot. And I just can't believe these titles that I'm seeing in these videos. It's just really tripping me out, man. But we're going to check this video out. As the news come out, I will continue to react to it. Like I said, I know a lot of people aren't probably interested in these videos. It's a lot of people that are. I am, because at the end of the day, it's about the kids. And we want to know what we want to know. We ain't gonna waste some more time. Let's jump right into it.
And we began with the cracks in MAGA world growing deeper as President Trump insists it's time to move on from the Jeffrey Epstein case. The calls for his administration to release its file are now moving from talk radio to the halls of Congress, with some of his biggest supporters, including the House Speaker, urging the president and his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to change course.
This has been the first fracture in MAGA, and we don't want this to happen anymore.
But President Trump says he just doesn't get the hype now.
That's crazy.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the...
See, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. You know, now we all know back in the day, I've said this in videos before, you had all the rappers who loved Trump, who, you know, wanted to be next to him because of his riches. You know, you can find a lot of songs with them using his name and stuff like that. When he came into office, you know, a lot of them didn't want to have nothing to do with him or whatever. This ain't about that. This ain't about, again, it's a lot deeper. A lot deeper. You know, I feel like if you're a genuine good person, whether you support this side or that side, you know that they hiding something. You know it. I feel like everybody right now is sitting at home, and whenever they get this news, it's just something hits them in their gut, and you go, they're literally hiding something, and they're laughing in our face about it. That's what it feels like. But for him to say he wasn't a factor, talking about Epstein, but then you see that footage of him with him, and they're talking and laughing and all this stuff. Sheesh, man.
Interest or what the fascination is. I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. Credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
Let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin, NBC's senior national politics reporter.
So why they blocking it? He just said let them have it, so release the files. Am I tripping, or did I just hear that right? He said anything that's credible. Boy.
Jonathan Allen and former U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuade. Julie, House Speaker Mike Johnson, now the highest ranking Republican to break with the president on this. What did he have to say?
Well, Johnson had a rare moment, extremely rare, actually. I can't think of a single other instance in which the speaker broke with the president on anything, but it goes to show you just how powerful, potent, and divisive this issue is within the very core of the MAGA base. Johnson, with conservative podcast host Benny Johnson, who kind of set up shop here in the Capitol, and lawmakers were able to just come through and talk and sit in these interviews, had damaging words, not so much for Pam Bondi, but in forcing this issue and kind of letting it bubble back up to the surface, wanting to see more of those files. Take a listen.
It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide. I agree with the sentiment that we need to put it out there. And you know, Pam Bondi, I don't know, when she originally made the statement, I think she was talking about documents, as I understood it, they were on her desk. I don't know that she was specific about a list or whatever, but she needs to come forward and explain that to everybody.
That said, as you know, Anna, there's always a difference between what they say and what they do, and Johnson could support an effort to force the administration's hand here, and he didn't. So far yesterday, he did not support a procedural motion from Congressman Ro Khanna, now a bipartisan effort with Thomas Massie as well, to try and set up a vote in which the House would then, if passed, force the DOJ to release these files. Johnson didn't do that. He still has an opportunity to. We're told that Khanna and Massie are actually trying to collect signatures, 218, to force what's called a discharge petition, enforcing the Speaker's hand in placing that vote and taking it anyway, regardless if he wants it or not. But we're not sure yet if it can get to 218 on it.
I mean, John, as the fallout keeps building, the president just responded on Truth Social this morning. He's blaming Democrats for the backlash. He writes, their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have bought into this BS hook, line, and sinker. What should we make of this response from the president?
Well, the full Truth Social post was the length of a Leo Tolstoy book, but had the sort of intellectual consistency of a George Orwell book. This is a president who promoted the conspiracy theories around Jeffrey Epstein, including one that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton ordered Epstein in jail, which is absolutely insane and for which there's no evidence because it didn't happen, and has now found himself in a position where he is at odds with a lot of his base. And I think the fallout of this and the danger for him is that it really is the base. It's the grassroots that is angry about this. And we see that in the pressure being put to bear on the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Tucker Carlsons, from both sides, both from Trump wanting them to stop talking about it and from the grassroots insisting that these Epstein files be released.
I mean, John, initially the president tried to stem the tide of this backlash with a post on Truth Social over the weekend. He wrote, 1 year ago, our country was dead. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. Well, he got slammed for that. That post received more than 45,000 responses, far more than other recent posts. Many of the top comments were expressing frustration with the president. John, does the president really not get it? Is he out of touch with his base on this?
Yes, he's absolutely out of touch with his base on this. And in fact, what we've seen is him repeatedly say no one's interested in this, stop talking about it in public comments. He's accidentally fanning the flames of this, but it sort of feels like he has to because it's the only thing that his base is talking about. We heard him once say, famously that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose a vote. But what he's finding out right now is that he cannot ridicule and mock all of his own voters and get away with that. And
he could do what on Fifth Avenue and not. I've said this before. I've said, are people supporting so much to the point that some people can't do anything wrong in their eyes? So that's what he was kind of alluding to. He said, I could take somebody out on Fifth Avenue and people will still support me. So I think he's frustrated because he's actually seeing the other side of it now. I think he expected his supporters to just wave this off to let it go. But I said, I feel if you are a genuine good person, like, because there's kids involved and people, like, a lot of people do not mess around when there's kids involved, you know, and you keep on talking about how how Epstein was a horrible person. He was this, he was that, this, but a lot of y'all was right next to him. How many of y'all knew how horrible he was, but you still was hanging out with him? That's crazy.
And have them sit for it. So I think he's going to have to find a way to repair his relationship with the base on this issue.
Damn.
He keeps on saying, you know, that it's nothing for them to be worried about. And even in his post this morning, he called them past supporters who are stirring up all of the angst over this. But clearly it's not just past supporters. It's people who are wanting to continue to support him and are suddenly having second thoughts over this issue. Barbara, yesterday, Attorney General Pam Bondi dodged some questions about the Epstein files. Let's play her reaction.
Oh, man.
He would support you releasing additional credible evidence from the Epstein investigation. Is that something that you are open to doing?
Let me take that.
Just a few months ago.
Let me take that first. This today. Nothing about Epstein. I'm not going to talk about Epstein.
The president said today you would release credible files related to Mr. Epstein. Are you prepared to do that, and when would you do that?
Our memo speaks for itself, and we'll get back to you on anything else. I haven't seen all of his statements today. Thank you.
Barbara, why do you expect that Bondi is dodging these questions?
Well, Bondi herself is right at the heart of this storm. She was the person who released Volume 1 in binders in a very ostentatious display, suggesting that this was the secret file that we've all been waiting for, which turned out, of course, to be nothing more than some very routine, already known materials. And then she said, it is sitting on my desk right now. Now, some thought it meant a client list, which people have been yearning for. She has now backtracked to say, when I said it, I just meant the file in general. I didn't mean to suggest there was anything like a client list. So between Pam Bondi, Donald Trump, Kash Patel, and others who are now inside the administration, they were the ones who were stoking all of this interest in the Epstein files. And now suddenly they've looked at it and they say there's no there. I think what they're finding is governing is much more challenging than simply spewing venom on Fox News or social media. You have to be able to back up what you're selling with words. You know, Donald Trump himself wrote in The Art of the Deal that you can only con people for so long. At some point, they expect you to deliver the goods. And I think right now we are seeing that there are no goods to be delivered.
We played some of that earlier sound with President Trump saying that the Department of Justice should release any credible information. That was part of the question that was taken to Bondi. Barb, how do you interpret what the president views as credible?
Well, I don't know, but I can tell you what the law is about DOJ voluntarily releasing things. There are some restrictions under DOJ grand jury rules, under grand jury laws, and under the Freedom of Information Act. And so they are not permitted to disclose any grand jury material. Under the Freedom of Information Act, there is an exemption for anything relating to the privacy rights and privacy interests of victims and even subjects of an investigation. So in other words, if somebody was investigated for perhaps being part of this conspiracy to engage, if there was not sufficient evidence to charge them with a crime, it would be improper for DOJ to voluntarily disclose that. Now, Congress can override that with some of these actions that they're talking about, but DOJ is not just not obligated, it is prohibited from producing these things now.
Well, speaking of Congress, Julie, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert had this suggestion for the case.
I think moving forward, we need a special counsel. That has got to happen. There has to be a special investigation into this if we aren't going to be provided information. I want answers, and maybe that takes that special counsel to do so. Maybe Matt Gaetz can lead the special counsel.
Is there any real support for Boebert's idea there on Capitol Hill?
Well, certainly among people like Boebert deep in the MAGA space that support continuing to investigate this issue. I will tell you, though, that even somebody as senior like Jim Jordan, who, of course, chairs a very important committee here, the Judiciary Panel, he is not interested at all in going down this road. He was pressed several times about it yesterday, and he continued to say that he stands with the president and he stands behind what his administration is doing here. But that doesn't mean that this isn't going to continue to be a total sore and pain for Trump and the White House and people who just want to get this and leave this in the past. And that includes, by the way, Speaker Johnson, because he said that in his interview with Benny Johnson. He just has to toe the line here, as many of these guys do, in trying not to make their base more angry at this issue, and also trying to fend off Democrats who, even in the Senate, I'm told, are trying to force messaging votes on this very issue.
Well, Trump said anything that's credible to release it. You got to let the people decide what's credible. Saying it's a hoax, saying it's boring, it's like, come on, man. I don't even think I need to go to the comments. I just feel like right now it is a complete poop show, and a lot of people are seeing right through the BS. I'm just glad this is consistent, that is being talked about. You cannot let this go away until the people get what they want, because, as I said before, there's probably a lot of victims who either they got to the family, whether they were paid off or whatever the case may be. But you got to remember, man, money, corruption, you got NDAs. It's a lot of stuff that they're going to have to look at, go through. I just don't want, I feel like the longer it takes, the more they're covering up. But we can't stop talking about this. Again, I hate politics. And I don't use that. I don't like to use that word, but I hate politics because of all the corruption. And you're getting to see it right now. And you're starting to see people speak on this. So, yeah. It's crazy that it took something like Epstein to bring people together, but I'll take it. All right. Peace out.